because I got two of them here. I got two of them, and the first one is going to be this one. It's the quote: "If you think Bitcoin is here to stay, you should probably get a seat in the arena." Okay. Now, I don't know if some of the people in the chat may have heard this before, but like, let me just share something. I have something I want to share, and it's going to be as you respond to that. I'm gonna put this up on the screen.
So you just want me to elaborate on what that means?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's that actually wasn't my quote. I forget where that came from. I didn't think of that, but I saw it somewhere before. And I mean, Sailor's talked about this before in terms of it's the only game that all you have to do to win is play in it, right? Because that's essentially what this ties into really well, is just get a seat in the arena, get some skin in the game here. Because for your average person who's looking at Bitcoin, I think it can be a very scary thing just because it's so unfamiliar. And if you surveyed 100 people on the street and said, do you want $100 of cash or do you want 1,000,000 sats? And I'd be willing to bet that the majority of people would take the $100 cash, even though the 1,000,000 sats is probably worth 10 times or more than the cash aspect. But people understand cash. They've dealt with it their whole lives. It's easy for them. They're comfortable in that world. But that doesn't mean anything. That just means that's in their own head. That's their perspective of the world. That's their view that they had. And so they would say, I'll take $100 cash. And you'd say, why? And they would say, well, because I don't know what Bitcoin is. I don't understand it. I have no idea. I wouldn't know what to do with it. Right. And so that's kind of where we are right now, where you have this very small subset of people who are like actively trying to grow this adoption here and educate people on what this thing is and why it's so valuable, why we should care about it.
Yeah.
And then you have like 99% of the world who's like too busy. And I get it. Like the fiat world is kind of at the end of its, last leg here in fiat in terms of like a small group of people printing money. That's what we're transitioning out of right now. But 99% of people are still in that world.
Yeah.
But if you ask those people, if you ask the exact same question to those people, like, do you plan on buying Bitcoin in the future? Or do you think that this is going to be a long-term thing? I would say the majority of them think, yes, it will be here, for a long time. So if you're one of those people who are like, I don't understand what Bitcoin is, but I think it's part of our future, you should just be focusing on getting a seat in the arena, because if you don't, you're going to miss out on this whole thing that happens here going forward. And so that was kind of my lead into it. But then I said, why it's pretty much here to stay now. And there's really nothing that anybody can do about that. So you might as well, even if you're not a believer in it yet, or, understanding it's going to be here for a while. So moral of the story, you should probably get a little bit of Bitcoin.
Well, I'm going to transition to another, the states in the United States that have they're introducing legislation regarding their own strategic Bitcoin reserves in the states. But the reason I wanted to go into this is just to encourage those people who they know about Bitcoin. They're maybe intimidated by it. But the concept of getting a seat in the arena, as I understood how you were speaking about it, was you don't have to be on the playing field. Okay. You don't have to be on the playing field. You don't even have to be in the first row or the first tier of rows. The double, the double A seats, the ones that it costs, $15,000. You don't even have to be in the second row. You can be way up here in the nosebleed seats if that's all you can do. But the last thing you want to be is you don't want to be outside the arena. You don't want to be outside of this opportunity to have your assets grow and be able to preserve what you have, maybe what little you have, to preserve that for your next generation. Because if you're my age, you're not thinking, more than 20 or 30 years down the road. Probably not going to be such a, 80, 90 years old, maybe.
No, it's true though. It's true. Very true.
It's reality. It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay because I totally understand, where I'm going when I'm all done, and I'm good with that. Totally good with that. Had a great life here so far. I'm going to have more great life, and there's other generations, our progeny, our descendants coming behind us. They're coming. They will come if we don't drink the Kool-Aid about, oh, the world's overpopulated and all that fun stuff. Okay. But no, more babies. Everybody have more kids. Okay. But you baby boomers, you new Bitcoiners, get a seat in the arena. And I don't care if you're up here in the nosebleed section, just get on this train. Okay. Now.
No, that's really good. I'm glad you kind of went a little bit further with it there, because it's important to understand that just like seats in the arena, there's only so much Bitcoin. And I think that that's another important part of it too, is like in the traditional sense of the world now, you could create this beautiful arena and you could bring people into it and everybody would be all excited. And then you might say, oh, you know what? There's more demand here. There's a lineup outside the door. So you know what we're going to do? We're just going to build a new arena. We're going to build a bigger arena. So the people that had really good seats in this one, now they're up in the nosebleeds because there's, more rich people who want to get in front of them. That's how the system that we have now works. Whereas Bitcoin, there's going to be one arena built. There's going to be so many seats in that arena. And you're either going to have a seat or you're not, because there's going to be no ability to expand that arena in the future. So absolutely correct in terms of the generational thinking here in terms of Bitcoin stuff. And I think that it's, you kind of said that it's an asset that grows over time. I don't necessarily think that that's the best way to look at it. Okay. I think it's an asset that your purchasing power grows over time because of its scarcity, because there's only so much Bitcoin. And so when you have the world's energy, the world's productivity, everything's being repriced by this scarce asset. That's why your purchasing power, if you're holding a small part of that Bitcoin, it's just going to grow. So if you had one Bitcoin today and you put it in cold storage, it's not going to grow. It's not going to be 1.5 Bitcoin in 10 years from now. But the amount of things that you can do with that Bitcoin that you have in 10 years is going to be much greater because of the scarcity, because 99% of people are still showing up. There's only so much of it. And that's very basic economics of, regardless of how much demand is there, the supply cannot change. So the price can only go up. And you're essentially there, your purchasing power, your ability to store your time and energy will not only maintain, but will grow over time. So you're exactly right. I just wanted to correct that one small part of it, because I think that's important to kind of, communicate with.